Hello everyone. So I'm back with some more IELTS reading strategies. In this lesson, we are going to particularly focus on information finding questions. Information finding questions assess your summarizing and rephrasing abilities. What you have to do is there will be some options given, statements given. You need to find out that where those statements lie in the passage. Now, because the passage is unseen to you and the questions, the statements, you don't know that where lie in the passage, it may become a time-consuming task. So here are some strategies which can help you a lot to manage your time in these type of questions particularly. So we will be starting with some general instructions regarding these question types. First of all, read the instructions very carefully because the instructions will help you to understand that how many passages you need to read, paragraphs you need to read, and from where you can get your answers, how many you can use as your answer, can you use one or can you use more than one in your statements for answering. All the paragraphs may not be used, or you may have to use one paragraph more than once. So it will depend totally on your understanding of the statements given. Why to read the first two sentences and last two sentences? Because in the first two sentences, you may get the introduction of the main idea of that paragraph. And the last two sentences actually conclude the whole paragraph. So you may easily get whatever you are looking for there. Never try to start searching for the statements directly in the passage. It will take a lot of time and effort. You will not have more than 1 hour to solve the whole reading, the 3 passages. So don't waste your time. Manage it properly. We have done 2 questions out of the questions I suggested. Now let's get started and see that how you can do these questions the best way possible. For a better understanding, we are going to use Cambridge 7, test number 2, passage 2. So let's start. I will be reading and will try to make you understand that how you can do it the best. So here you can see they want you to read the passage, and there are paragraphs A to G. The instructions say that you need to find that where these statements from question number 14 to 17 lie in the passage. So as I said before, it's difficult for anyone to find out where it is in the passage, especially when the passage is unseen. You need to use a strategy for that. For the strategy, first tip is you need to read the statement very carefully, all the statements at once. Underline the important words in it in order to remember the main idea of that statement. So we will be reading all the questions from 14 to 17 at once. Besides, we will be underlining some of the main ideas in it. Question number 14 for an example, a cost involved in purifying domestic water. Cost, purifying domestic water. These are the 3 words which can be kept in mind when you are searching for the answer. Likewise, we'll read question number 15. The stages in the development of the farming industry. 16. The term used to describe hidden cost. 17. One effect of chemicals on water sources. So in 15, we can underline stages, development, farming industry. In 16, we can underline term, describe, hidden cost. In 17, one effect, chemicals, water sources. Now what we have to do is Instead of finding these one by one, we will be going to the passage, we'll be reading the first two sentences and last two sentences of all the paragraphs one by one, and then we'll see that which paragraphs may contain the information given in the question part. Now let's start doing these questions. So we will be reading the first as an example. For more than 40 years, the cost of food has been rising. It has now reached a point where a growing number of people believe that it is far too high and that bringing it down will be one of the great challenges of the 21st century. Now, after reading these two sentences, we can understand that it talks about food and its cost, which is rising too high, right? Now let's move to the last of it. The cost is in the collateral damage of the very methods of food production that have made the food cheaper. In the pollution of water, the innervation of soil, the destruction of wildlife, the harm to animal welfare, and the threat to human health caused by modern industrial agriculture. Now, it is a further explanation of what is mentioned in the first two sentences. Now we'll see that whether we get any of the options given from 14 to 17 as an answer for A. 14. A cost purifying domestic water. No, nothing is mentioned about purifying domestic water. Next. Stages, development, farming industry. No. Term, describe hidden cost. No. One effect, chemicals, water sources. No. It means A is not the answer for any of these options. We need to continue reading and until we find our answers. So let's continue with B. First mechanization, then mass use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, then monocultures, then battery rearing of livestock, and now genetic engineering. The onward march of intensive farming has seemed unstoppable in the last half century as the yields of produce have soared. Now in this one we can see that they are clearly mentioning that the different ways are used for increasing the yield in agriculture. But after this you can see that they have mentioned another sentence which starts with but. So any sentence which starts with but, whereas, while, although, yet, or however, you need to continue reading after that. Why? Because you may make your answer wrong. But the damage it has caused has been colossal. Colossal means huge. So it means whatever improvements are being done in the field of agriculture have made huge damage to it. Okay, so we can just read it further from the last two sentences. Now we'll start reading the last two sentences of the same paragraph. Natural soil fertility is dropping in many areas because of continuous industrial fertilizer and pesticide use, while the growth of algae is increasing in lakes because of the fertilizer runoff. Now in this one you can see that they have mentioned that natural soil fertility has decreased, alright, and why it has decreased? Because of the fertilizers and pesticides used in the agricultural field. And moreover, it has actually became a reason for growth of algae in lakes. Lake is a source of water. Right? Now we'll go back and we'll see that which statement matches with this, if any. A cost involved in purifying domestic water. Cost, purifying, there is nothing mentioned about purifying domestic water. So this cannot be used for this. This information is not given in that paragraph. 15. Stages development farming industry. Yes, they have mentioned about farming industry. It means agriculture. They have mentioned the development in the first two sentences. Also, there are stages mentioned. You can see very clearly that they have said then pesticides, then and now. So you can see that they have clearly said that this is what happened first, then second, then third, then now at the present what is happening. So now you can understand that they have mentioned the stages. So this can be the answer for B. Okay, answer for B can be answer for number 15. Now we have to continue reading the statements. Why? Because they have clearly mentioned that you can use any letters more than once. So we may find any other statement which can be there in the passage. So let's continue reading it. So 1 is not there, 2 is there. We have marked that as an answer. Now let's come to the next one. Term, describe hidden cost. Nothing is mentioned about hidden cost, so this cannot be the answer. Now the last one. One effect, chemicals, water sources. Effect, it means result. Chemicals. Okay, then water sources. Yes, we have read about one water source there, that is lake. So now let's see the last of this paragraph where they have clearly mentioned chemicals like industrial fertilizers and pesticides are being used in the field. Because of that, lakes are getting polluted. So this can be the answer for the number 17 as well. So we have got two information from B paragraph, number 15 and number 17. So like this, you can do these questions in order to manage your time. So these strategies will help you to manage your time when you do IELTS practice. Now let's do the recap of what we have done till now. First, you need to read the instructions very carefully. Then understand that if you can use any paragraphs more than once, any letters A to G, for example, in this case, you can use more than once or not. That's very important. It will save you a lot of time and energy. Then next, you need to read the statements carefully, all the statements. Underline some of the important words and phrases to remind yourself that what you are looking for in the passage. Then you can start reading the first two sentences and last two sentences of all the paragraphs one by one and see whether the information you have read in the first two sentences and last two sentences of the paragraph are there in the statements or not. Any of the statements match with that information or not. So I have done 2 for you. Now the remaining I want you to do at home and see whether these tips help you or not. I'll see you in the next lesson. Till then, take care. Bye.